It's time once again to slip into your camo, grab your bow, and join us out in the field for another episode of the Up North Journal, presented by PSE Archery. The Up North Journal crew is knocked and ready to rock for another exciting adventure. So let's step outside and hit the trail.
This episode of the Up North Journal podcast is brought to you by PSE Archery,
Carbon Express,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
Wind Scent Hunting Sense,
Killer Food Plots, Seeds, Supplements, and Attractants,
Cabela's,
Spot Shooters,
Limb Walker Game Calls,
Twisted Minds Bowstrings,
Hunter's Blend Coffee,
Antler Action,
and Family Traditions Tree Stand.
And don't forget you can catch us in syndication at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on goodtalkradio.com. Welcome back to another episode of the Up North Journal, everybody. I'm host Mike Adams, sitting in the cabin tonight all alone. Danny is up north, but I got him on the phone. Are you still there, Danny?
I am still here, and I am traveling eastbound.
Okay, so you're still moving. Okay, so if he drops out, we know why. But
right, I'm heading home, so we're
you're coming
trying to beat the.
You're coming home.
Yeah, we decided to come home because of the possibilities of the fun times at the Mackinac Bridge tomorrow, because they're closing the bridge for the Mackinac Walk.
Oh, okay. So you're on your way to Escanaba. Actually, I got a picture of the bridge up right now with you going northbound, but you're coming back across that sucker, huh?
We're trying to reverse the process. We finished up what we needed to do, and we decided let's get out of here.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're shutting us down tomorrow morning at 6:30. I heard.
Yes, I got to get across that bridge before 6:30 a.m.
Okay, all right, and then it'll be shut down until what, noon?
Yes, noon. So everybody, if you don't get across by 6:30, you get to wait till noon on either side of the bridge till they open it back up.
Oh, okay. So that way you're going to get hosed.
Well, you will get hosed, and think about that. What was that, like 5.5 hours of sitting, not moving, traffic
right
on a Labor Day weekend?
You know, I completely forgot that you would have to come through that. I did not even think about that. So very interesting.
Well, we were thinking about leaving maybe later in the morning, like 10 o'clock, getting over to the bridge by about 2, but then like, well, we don't know how much traffic we get back up there's going to be.
Right. I bet you everybody's busting butt to get back across and get on the south side of that bridge from the UP.
Well, the first group left earlier while we were still out in the woods finishing up what we needed to do. Then we finally were able to get the cabin tidied up and on the road at 5 o'clock.
Okay. Well, let me throw a picture up here. I got a picture of you running westbound on US 2 at the sunset. So that's kind of what you're looking almost like right now. Not quite, but close to sunset. Running eastbound, am I right?
You know, you're right. It's been cloudy all day, which has been, it was about 70s today. And this weekend's been kind of fabulous. It hasn't been too hot, but the weather's been awesome for what we needed to do to get out, do some plumbing, do some seating, and building that stage that I wanted to build out in the middle of the woods.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, I know we just got you on board here, but just due to the circumstances we're underneath tonight, I tell you what, why don't we just step outside? Let's go ahead and get our first break in, and we come back. We'll talk a little bit about what you did up there while you were there, okay?
All righty.
All right, we'll step outside. We'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has reinvented the way you buy bows.
From now on, you can make the most educated decision possible
by basing your bow choice specifically on your shooting needs and goals.
All you need to do is ask yourself, what kind of shooter am I? What do I want to achieve?
PSE will help find the right category for you.
So, what kind of shooter are you?
Find out at psearchery.com.
Killer Food Plots have been helping property owners for over 20 years create premier whitetail habitat. Whether replenishing your soil with their all-natural Organics Fusion pellets or planting a premier KFP food plot seed blend to help your deer rebuild their bodies through spring and summer while supplying the much-needed high energy during and after the rut, you can trust that Killer Food Plots family and their products will help your deer achieve their full potential.
Welcome back. Second segment of the show. We are live streaming tonight with Dan DeFauw running eastbound on US 2 in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. So what's the traffic like up there, Danny?
Right now, not much, and we like it that way. We're leaving kind of late on a Sunday night, so hopefully we're beating the traffic to get below the bridge before everybody else decides they want to come back for the holiday weekend.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to run through some pictures here. You've been up north. You're kind of getting ready for deer season. The first picture you sent me is the UTV and somebody standing next to it doing a little work getting ready. I actually, when I first saw this picture, I said, man, that looks like Terry. And I'm assuming
it is.
It is. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Danny said he was going. I didn't know Terry was going up with you guys. So that's your brother there. You got all your gear laid out. Talk a little bit about what you're doing up there with the trees.
What we were doing there with the trees is I had bought some apple trees, and from last year I had those fields I planted, so I wanted to add something to the property. So I didn't want to start. I got a good deal on these apple trees, and I said, hey, give it a whirl. So I had eight apple trees I needed to plant, and that was what I needed to do. And we got everything put together, and we kind of developed a plan to get out there and then go and get them put in the ground, and got fencing to put around them. And so it was that was Saturday's adventure.
Okay, now
getting out and doing some Johnny Appleseed.
Now, the picture here I'm looking at, the first two I'm looking at, he's digging a hole, but that strip, actually, let me go back to it. The strip that you guys are parked in with the UTV, is that the logging road?
That's the part you see where I'm parked is that's what I planted last year. We're at the rye and clover.
Okay, all right.
So that actually came out really good for just. Basically, all I did was just ran over it and then just threw seed, and then it came up really good this year for the first time. I did put the lime down and what I needed to do. I did have the soil tested last year, so it came up good, and so I wanted to add to that. And the apple trees required, they said, at least 6 hours of sunlight. So what I wanted to do, I said, hey, why don't I just put them out there, out in the field? So I just kind of put them on the edge of the field around that one. And that field now has 6 newly planted apple trees around it.
Okay, so this picture here I'm looking at now, Terry's getting ready to dig a hole. You planted those off of the field there, right in the edge of the logging cut. Am I correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Now this just looking at the picture here, I remember what this thing looked like back when we talked, when you went up north back in the spring. And I was quite impressed with the amount of regeneration you had then. But to me, man, this looks like it is thick as thieves in there with regeneration. I can't believe how thick that is.
I tell you what, there are some spots in there. A deer will jump literally from the road into there, and within 10 to 20 feet, gone, if that.
Gotcha.
That area right there that's got full sunlight and regen in that area is doing really good.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, and then there's other spots where it's kind of a little bit thinner. It'll come along, but yeah, there's definitely some spots where the regen is definitely taking off like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, I see you, the way you got the tree wrapped there with the stakes and the fencing and everything. That regeneration right there, to me, is simply phenomenal. I mean, now is that mostly BAM that's coming up there, or is it just ferns and other weedy material? Or is there some? It looks like there's some BAM in there.
There's some poplar coming up in there. There's some. A lot of the ferns are coming up in that area. But it's just total new growth from basically what you could see from the road, like that. You could see the underbrush. You could see 50, 60, 100 yards in to that, where you can't see hardly anything right off the road now.
Now, okay, so when you went back up this time, are you seeing where deer are making inroads into that and using making trails yet?
Absolutely. There's, I don't know if I sent you the picture, but at one end of the field where we planted some apple trees, at the end of the field, you can definitely see where they're making inroads to get into that field. So we put an apple tree on each side of the field at that end. So when they eventually come out, they'll be walking out right under some apple trees.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it's dude, I'm just blown away with how well this looks. I mean, the way it's regenerated. Let me ask you this: what about the rest of the family and your cousins and everything? Because you've got 2 joint properties there. Is everybody satisfied with the results of what happened?
Absolutely. We talked about it over the weekend, and with a little work, we kind of like we talked about last year by having it cut, giving us a clean blackboard to start working with and start kind of how we want it to materialize. If we want to make trails, if we want to do some food plots, depending on where you want to go, maybe add a road, maybe add a few things so you can move around better, whether you're on a four-wheeler or you're a tractor or like that. But it's giving us that new clean slate to start working with, and this is kind of the first full year that we've kind of started working at it.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's like I said, just for the first year, from what I seen back in the spring, the pictures you showed me back in the spring, this is really taken off well. It's simply
there
just
is
phenomenal.
at least definitely it ranges anywhere from 3 to 6 feet of new growth this year.
Okay. Now, do you, like you said, you're going to plan on maybe making a couple more inroads there, maybe some paths through there to get in to certain areas to hunt?
Exactly. That field that you got up there now is kind of in the shape of a kind of like a cross, and it seems to me that each end of the cross has a deer trail coming in.
Okay, I got you.
I had a camera on that field, and you could just tell that they were just meandering through that field. So that gives me some good thoughts as to how that's working out right now.
Okay. Now, when you guys started getting ready to plant these trees, you went and bought these. These are regular apple trees, or are these crab apple? What kind of trees are they?
So these trees that I got, are red delicious apples.
Okay.
Got a good deal at the end of the season over at Walmart. They had them closed out clearance price, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to take them up north. It says it takes 5 to 6 years to bear fruit, so hoping that we'll find some fruit here in a few short years.
Did you get any recommendations on planting, on how to plant, the procedure for planting, the amount of fertilizer, all that stuff? And if so, what did they tell you?
Not really. Basically what they wanted you to do is don't go overboard on the fertilizer, don't shock it, and then basically what we did is we uncovered the roots, kind of dug a hole. We didn't dig it too deep, just enough to get the ball of the roots into the ground, and then we just kind of backfilled. And what I did, I put in the soil, backfilled it with the soil that we dug out, and then I put over on top of that, I put some weed screen, and then I dumped some mulch on top of it to hold the moisture in. And we gave them each a 5-gallon, 10 gallons worth of drink of water, and away they go. Okay. Now,
I just clicked over to the picture where you've got the fencing wrapped around it. I see something that's black there around the bottom. Is that the screening and the wood chips that you piled on top of that? Or am I
Yep. That's the weed screen and the wood chips that we put on top of it at the base. And we also added a wrap around the base of the trunk in case little rabbits, mice, little guys want to try to chew the bark.
You didn't want them to girdle the bark. I gotcha. Okay.
Right, exactly.
How high is that fencing? It looks like what? Maybe 4 foot? Is it 4 foot high?
Those are that's 4 foot fencing. Basically, that's snow fencing from Home Depot.
Okay. Now, how wide apart are your stakes?
So what we did is basically we went about 3 feet out from the tree, and went in a circle about 3 feet out around the tree.
Okay. All right.
So each stake's about 3 feet out from the tree, and we made a circle around it with the snow fencing.
Okay. All right. Well, it looks like hopefully next spring you guys have some trees to go back to, and hopefully they make it through the winter. Hopefully they make it through. The deer can't get in there and nibble on them, Well,
that's what we're hoping. We're hoping that they're tall. That's another reason I liked buying those trees, because they're anywhere from 6 to 8 feet tall already.
Yeah, right.
And I think that gives them a good enough start to get above the browse line if they can reach their neck over. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they can at some part, but it might be tall enough that it should be okay for them to keep going.
Okay. Now, something else I was just thinking about, where you've got these, let me go back to this other picture here, where your brother's got the shovel, where you planted those. That's kind of like you said, that's the edge of your field. Now, and you've got that opening where you dug around and planted them. Are you going to continue to keep that area around them as weed-free as possible?
Yeah, what I'm going to try to do is every year, whether it be spring or maybe in the fall again, is I'm going to try to walk around there, maybe with the weed whacker, and just try to prune everything back to let that tree get as much availability and to grow.
Keep as much moisture as possible and keep everything else from trying to choke it out?
Exactly. Okay. There was some poplars right there. We knocked those down and definitely get a weed whacker around each of those, and just continue to give it as much room as possible to get enough height in it so it'll take off on its own.
Okay. Well, it sounds like that was a pretty good time of getting eight trees planted. How long did it take you to get those in?
Those took a few hours to get planted, and then after that we did our seeding. That I wanted to do some seeding, and that was another few hours. We were basically out there all day yesterday, planting and feeding.
Planting and feeding. Okay, gotcha. I tell you what, let's go ahead and let's take our second break. When we come back, we'll save the latter portion of the show here for talking a little more about what's going on up there in the UP. But we're going to step outside. We're taking another break. We'll be right back after this.
PSE Archery has always dominated the speed category. Now, the most revolutionary cam system ever to hit the market has perfected the shooting experience. Introducing PSE's Evolve Cam System, featuring extremely high let-off capabilities and the smoothest draw cycle in history. No other cam system has ever delivered this level of total comfort and total control. Experience PSE. Experience performance.
Killer Food Plots have been helping property owners for over 20 years create premier whitetail habitat. Whether replenishing your soil with their all-natural Organics Fusion pellets or planting a premier KFP food plot seed blend to help your deer rebuild their bodies through spring and summer while supplying the much-needed high energy during and after the rut, you can trust that Killer Food Plots family and their products will help your deer achieve their full potential.
Welcome back. Third segment of the show tonight. As you can see, I'm sitting here in the cabin all alone. Danny's on the road. Actually, Danny is eastbound on US 2 as we speak, heading towards Escanaba. So, how's the traffic?
I am in the heart of Escanaba.
Oh, you're in Escanaba.
So, you know,
okay.
I've made it to Escanaba.
Okay, so we got a half hour before you lose phone signal.
Probably that you'll lose me in about a half hour. And then you won't pick me up till Mesquite.
Yeah, right. I got you. So we'll try to keep the conversation here rolling right along. Don Gibson says hello.
Right.
So, okay. So you said you did some planning up that way.
Yeah.
Okay. So what'd you do there for the fields? What do you got going on for the fields, and what'd you do?
I got some winter rye, and then I put that out. I just basically seeded everything and anything that I could get my little hand seeder, and I could walk it. I heavily seeded that. I wanted to fill in some spots that were still dirt. I just wanted to fill it in, to get it to fill in, so it doesn't look like just a dirt patch or anything like that. The food plots that I worked, I reseeded those. There was some other stuff that I threw out as well, some mixed seeds as well, to see how that did. My cousin up here did the same thing, throwing some other seeds along with it. So we kind of gave him a smorgasbord out there, and we'll see. I was surprised last year when I did this the same time, when I went out and threw the seeds, and I came back this following year. I was quite ecstatic what I seen with the growth. So I'm hoping to see it again next year.
Yeah, I do remember when you brought those pictures back. You know, we're both kind of wondering how well it really took off, and you were surprised when you got up there. That was for sure.
I was shocked. I was quite ecstatic. So hopefully after this year, next year, maybe we'll do a little bit. I'll have to pull some more soil samples, see how the soil's doing. Maybe get a rototiller in there, turn the soil over. One field needs a lot of work. I need to flatten it out a little bit. It's kind of a Humpty Dumpty kind of field. It's up and down.
Gotcha. You know, moving along here just a little bit, I just want to try to get as much in before we lose phone signal and talk about some of the things you sent me. You sent me some trail cam photos, and I've got an order of them built here that we'll talk about as we go along, and I'll let you know. You sent me a picture of this nice, healthy doe standing in front of your salt lick and corn pile. And for those of you who may not know, Danny's in the UP where it is legal to put feed out.
Absolutely. It is legal.
Yep. So looks like you got a nice, healthy doe there.
So what we got there is a good sign. That doe, and actually I got 4 cameras out. I pulled cards on 3 of them, and easily about 10,000 pictures later, I see some healthy does.
Okay.
I see them having fawns. I'm seeing them having twins. It's really good sign.
Okay. Now, can you tell are most of your does, are they older? Are they younger? Can you make any judgment call on that?
Yeah, there's the matter of fact, this is as we were leaving today, an older doe came in with twins, and she came walking right in, like she knew what was going on there. So I think she's been around a while. There's some younger ones in the area, but it's a good age mixture that I'm seeing between the older does that I can tell and the younger ones that are either by themselves or having singles.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask you this: the ones that you saw on camera, or maybe you've seen personally, that have twins that appear older. Can you tell? Are you able to tell if those fawns are doe or bucks, and are you able to tell if the ones that had single fawns, if they're doe or bucks?
No, I really haven't looked at it that closely yet. The fawns that I saw today, I really couldn't tell.
Okay.
But I can always go back to the photographs and kind of study them a little bit better. But right now, no, I haven't been able to tell.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go to the next picture here. That you've got it's a nighttime photo with a buck coming in. Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, probably a 7-pointer, or maybe he's sprouting a second brow tine. It's hard to tell there.
Right, exactly. Now he's probably going to be the 7-pointer. One thing we did notice on our trail cameras, we got some really good growth on. We got a 6, a 7, and an 8-pointer that are in the area. And compared to what we've been seeing in the past with the spikes and the 4s and the younger deer, those are really nice bucks to see in our area at this time. It was kind of hard to not see them in the area, and then all of a sudden, you'd be out hunting, and then all of a sudden that would happen. But
right.
We got them on trail camera since July and August, and that picture you saw there was from Thursday night, I think, or Friday night, probably Thursday night.
The 30th. Yep. Yeah, August 30th.
Yeah. So that's our most recent pic we have of him, and for our area, that's getting to be a nice buck.
Okay, now you can't really tell in this picture. I mean, if I had to guess at this buck, he looks a little narrow. I mean, it's real hard to tell on this photo, just the way he's turned. But is that a 2.5 or is that a 1.5-year-old buck?
I'm going to go with a 2.5, possibly on the outside of a 3.5, but more likely, typically we see the 2.5s that are at that stage.
Okay, all right. Just wondering, if you were seeing some good antler growth out of your 1.5-year-old bucks, or if this was, more of that 2.5-year-old age class. And what you're used to seeing up
he's
there.
Probably he's probably a 2.5 for sure. If that's the one from last year, but we had a 6 that we seen but was never gotten. So I'm pretty sure he's a 2.5.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All right, now the next one that we're going to, this is. When I first saw this one, I was like, okay, what in the world? And I'm assuming this is our famous Sandhill Cranes that like to fly through in ribeye in the sky?
It is. They've been around, and I've got several photos of them in a couple different fields that we have a resident couple, I guess, that stays in the area. They were flying around the last couple of days, but yeah, they comes walking in and pose for the camera.
I've never paid that close of attention to them. I see them, it's like, yeah, there they are. Nothing I can do. I can't hunt them. But I didn't really realize they had the red patch around their head on the eye. I just never noticed that.
They are actually a pretty cool looking bird, but I'd still like to try one.
Yeah, I would too. I bet they're tasty. They call them ribeye in the
Absolutely.
sky. So, and
right. So yeah, they've been out and about and probably getting ready to head south.
Gotcha. Well, now the next photo, we're going to stay in the bird category here. Nice hen here with some poults. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 poults.
Now that I'm excited about because between the bears, the coyotes, and the wolves, to have her have that many number of poults, I think is good, and for also kind of along with that to see the number of fawns we're seeing, they're getting past the predation point.
Right. So, yeah, I was like, I said, I know why you sent me this, because you don't have a lot of turkey up in that area.
We do not. In our local area there, we do not. Now, other parts of the county, yeah, there's definitely more birds. Mm-hmm. But for us to have that's really cool. And then for what you see there, there's got to be some toms in the area. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they just don't lay eggs and they hatch without having a few toms around.
Right, exactly. So that's kind of encouraging that what I was afraid of in when we had that late blast of winter, that everything was going to get kind of messed up, but I kind of see it differently.
Right. Yeah, Tim Sia says, yeah, they look great. So it's, Tim, he's the one that loves to hunt those birds, from Limb Walker Game Call. So if he's liking it, we know it's good.
Absolutely. And driving in here, we've just seen a lot of turkeys. And actually, we just seen one that had little ones that couldn't have been. If they were a month old, I'd be surprised. They were little fur balls.
Okay, so had a late clutch.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of
all right.
Shocking, really.
Okay, I kind of jumped over here a little quick to this bear picture, but you got a little bear coming into the Salt Lake here. It's a nighttime photo. Just a single bear, just a little guy.
Yeah. He's kind of hugging that salt block, isn't he?
Yeah. It's like he wanted to take it with him, I think.
Well, he tried. He dragged it off about 2 feet from there, then the next picture, and he was coming in, so he was kind of messing with the salt block, kind of laid around.
Well, and then we got one here at night with a mama and 2 cubs. I mean, these are this. Well, the first picture we can see. Okay, let me flip over to the next picture. There's 3 cubs in the second picture. That's the same one. Then I take it.
Yep,
the same
that's
size.
Her. That's about 75 yards as the crow flies from the cabin.
Okay, so she's got 3 cubs where the one's standing up on its hind legs. That's kind of cool. You can see them.
Yeah, that was a great picture.
So you definitely got some bear in the area, and I tell you what, and I got one here. We've talked about this a lot. The very last one I'm going to show, you have talked about the wolf in the area, wolves, and is this the first wolf you actually got on trail cam?
Yes, that is, and I got others, but they're coyotes. Actually, between the wolves and the coyotes, we got a lot of photos of the coyotes, and they're coming through. And the one picture I didn't send you was I actually have 2 of them in the same frame.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, which is usually you just catch a single,
right.
But I actually have a double, which is kind of cool. But so it's telling me we definitely have them in the area. But from the other pictures I'm seeing, it looks like they're not getting. I'm glad they're not getting the little ones.
Okay. Well, I guess that's good that there's no little ones around. But it sure makes you want.
The thing is, when you get heavy predation like that, and we're not able to hunt them up there like we probably should, but they're not getting to the little ones, and neither are the bears, so that's kind of good too. So by seeing the fawns and the young turkeys, I'm kind of excited.
Yeah, talking about turkeys, Jason Radecki just chimed in and says that the turkeys around him there in Luzerne are all small. 95% of them are late hatchers. He said he wouldn't say that he's never seen this many late chicks in all his life. And I got to imagine, too. Well, see, he's up there close to where I hunt, and up in that area where I'm at, there was a lot of summer rain. There was a lot of rain that came through, big, heavy downpours, in about the time late May, June, July, Back then, they were just getting cranked up good, getting into the breeding season. So I got to imagine probably some of those early clutches, may have gotten destroyed just due to the weather. We've talked about that on the show before, how the weather affects the hatch. So,
right, exactly, and that's and that might have happened up here as well because they had that torrential downpours and flooding up here.
Right,
might have had the same thing.
Yeah, right. So, but getting back to this wolf picture here, I'll throw that back up. That to me is pretty. I mean, it's cool to see because I don't see them. I know we've got a few around our area. We've heard and seen tracks, but I've never laid eyes on one. But to see one, out in the wild like that, it's cool. But also,
broad daylight.
Yeah, but also concerning. So.
Right. Well, there's nothing like going out when you're out in the woods and knowing that something could be hunting you.
Right. Exactly. Let me see if I'm going to walk this picture up just a little bit, and then I'm going to cut back to it here, fade to it. I moved it just for the framing purposes, but this was at 5:05 in the afternoon. 5:05, so 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yep.
The third week of August, this thing is cruising around.
And he's about, like I said, 75 yards from the cabin.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's crazy. So.
Right. Exactly.
Get your dander up just a little bit when you're walking to your deer stand for sure.
A a little bit.
So, hey, I tell you what, we're bumping up here on the last break. Let's go ahead and get the last break out of the way. We come back, we'll carry the majority of the rest of the show here to the end, and hopefully we can stay in phone contact with you. Sound good?
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Step outside. We'll be right back after this.
Acceleration is part of PSE's DNA. PSE pioneered the speed movement. Now they've developed the vapor category to help you find the most powerful bows on the market to fit you.
High speed equates to intense power and building the momentum you need to be successful. Are you a vapor shooter? Find out at psearchery.com.
Killer Food Plots have been helping property owners for over 20 years create premier whitetail habitat. Whether replenishing your soil with their all-natural Organics Fusion pellets or planting a premier KFP food plot seed blend to help your deer rebuild their bodies through spring and summer while supplying the much-needed high energy during and after the rut, you can trust that Killer Food Plots family and their products will help your deer achieve their full potential.
Welcome back. Last segment of the show. We're talking with Dan DeFauw, running down the road, eastbound and down, loaded up in trucking, trying to get across the Mackinac Bridge before they shut it down.
You got it. That you're right. We are trucking. That's for sure.
You're running at posted speeds, I do hope.
I am now.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
I just like to give out to a shout out to our MFE guys. Real nice guys.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Definitely. Jason Radecki also said, same with the fawns, talking about fawn crop. We see grown-up deer all over it, and he says, I bet I haven't seen more than 4 fawns all summer. Plain weird. You know, and I will actually, let me comment just a little bit about that. At our camp, same exact issue, but we know that we have got coyotes up the wazoo. We have a huge coyote problem. Our guy that lives up there at our camp, it's not good. He's seeing a lot of fawn mortality where, it looks like predation. So we're really concerned about our fawn recruitment for next year. So I'm hoping that we don't run into a problem where we see an entire age class just about wiped out because of this, because they are wreaking havoc. And, I don't know, Jason, it might be the same issue there where you're at, because I know you're not real far away from where I am. You're just down the road a piece. So, let me know, chime in if you think it's predation where you're at. So, but
speaking of the fawns, on camera, I've got. I can tell by the spots as the months went on. I think how you talked about how having multiple ruts.
Yeah.
I think we've got at least 2 going on here, because there's a couple fawns on camera that look kind of like really, really young, and then I got a couple that are kind of look older, bigger. You know?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, that's kind of the way we see it at our place too. We definitely have 2. I have seen fawns with spots in October. In the first part of October, little guys. You can tell that they were dropped like a 3rd rut, and that's definitely not good. So that's probably what you're seeing up there as well. And while we're on the subject, talking a little bit here, hang on just a second. I'm going to reach over here in this chair, this empty chair that Dan left. I got a couple pieces.
Yeah,
a couple pieces of new gear.
I left you the chair.
Right, this week. The first one is this deer jawbone extraction tool. I got this via QDMA's website. Purchased it from them. You can get them, and I believe at the Forestry Services make one of these as well. But this is for extracting deer jawbones for aging. And this is something we're going to do with all of our deer this year, and make sure that we get those taken care of. Once we get those out, we take and number them, tag them, put them in a fish basket, hang it up. And that way, the insects will eat the meat off of the jawbone. That way you don't have to worry about scraping them completely clean and all that. You can get them clean, but, we're talking about the little fine stuff. And then as we number those jawbones, I got a harvest book here. Yeah, it's called a harvest book, kill book, whatever you want to call it. I didn't name it. It is what it is. But this way we're going to log all the deer that we take this year and keep track of them. We're looking at, we number the jaw bones, and then we correlate that number with a deer number here in the book, the date it was shot, the hunter who shot it, the sex of the deer, the age, which we'll get from the jawbone from our habitat management consultant. Will do that for us. Then we'll have weight in pounds. We can either measure live weight or dressed weight. And I actually just bought a new digital scale for our camp for that to use on our buck pole. Antler points left and right, inside antler spread, left beam circumference, right beam circumference, left beam length, right beam length, and then if it's a doe, if it was in milk or not, and then any comments. So once you start putting this together, each season you can start to really get a handle on what you're taking out of your herd.
It starts to give you a story as to what's going on, right?
Absolutely. So, that's just a couple little things that I've picked up here to make sure that we're moving forward with our plan into the season. And, we get our fields planted, then we get some trail cams out, get our trail cam survey, figure out what we're actually going to take this year, and then put the plan to action, so to speak. So
right, and see that's a good thing. Now up here in the UP, my area, pretty much most of the UP except for the southern counties, we're not allowed to take any does. So we're still fighting with Mother Nature as to what she's up to. But I'll do my best, what I can do, food plot wise, apple wise, to bring the health of the herd up. And usually you're kind of hunting with my trail cameras, really.
Right, gotcha. Are you guys going to start taking and keeping track of what you take in the field, or you just kind of getting your feet wet and getting into it? Have you got any plans down that road yet?
Actually, we do have a book that kind of like a camp history book that every time somebody goes there, you're supposed to write in when you're there, what you did, blah, blah, blah. And usually we try to fill it out during the hunting season for sure as to who sees what, if we had taken anything, where they were taken, simply like that.
Okay, all right. Do you correlate that with the winter of '96 when we lost a lot of deer? We had 3 feet of snow during a storm. Do you ever write anything that's weather related in your book so you can correlate to what you've taken and how that might reflect?
Yeah, like when we have like the big snow that we had, we've written that down. Most of the time we write down if it's cold or is it warm or are we having heavy snow. I could probably sit down and go back and read through it and get a collection as to what happened that year. I know my cousin Dennis likes to come up in December to see if he's gotten anything. Was it cold at the time when he was here? Kind of track the weather as it goes.
Gotcha. Hey, right now while we're online, got to give a quick shout out because he just chimed in. Actually, he just tuned in to watching. Denny Steiner is watching the show tonight. Denny, brother, I am glad that you got out and you're back home. That's all I'm going to say about that. But brother, we are glad that you were watching tonight. That is great news.
No doubt about it. I was excited to get that picture of him, and definitely, being out of the hospital, keep rocking it, Denny.
That's right, man. It's chin up and keep on rocking. It's we got to make plans to get you on the show here real soon, and we got to do something about that. If we don't talk between now and ATA, hopefully you'll be at ATA and we'll be able to sit down there and do something special for sure. So, Danny, where are you at right now? Are you getting close to Manistee?
I am. Let's see. I am coming up to a great big town called Ensign. I'm just outside of Rapid River, which is just outside of Escanaba.
Rapid River.
As you go east.
Rapid River Knifeworks, yep. Man. That's one of my favorite places. I wish I was there because I'd just jump out of the truck as you drove by and say, pick me up next time you're up, because I love stopping in that place.
Yeah, well, you'd be left there because I'm trucking.
You're not stopping. You're just going to keep going.
Right?
Have you ever been in that place?
I have never been in there.
My friend, you need to spend a half hour out of your time one day when you're up there and make sure you stop in and just take a peek in there, because that place is absolutely phenomenal. They make some great equipment, from knives to hatchets to, fur and fin knives to skinning knives and caping knives, all that kind of stuff. It's just simply amazing what they can do with steel and a little bit of bone.
I'm going to end up spending money if I stop there, aren't I?
Yeah, you will. You will, but I'm telling you what, it'd be
Okay.
well worth. I mean, you've seen some of the stuff that we've got, and it's just simply phenomenal of what they do there. It's and actually, those guys were formerly part of Marble Knifeworks back in the day, way back in the day. And you know, they once that kind of went by the wayside, they started their own shop, and they're continuing making great knives to this day.
Exactly. So.
Well, we've got maybe another 10 minutes or so here, Danny. What else did you do this weekend while you're up there?
Well, just so I let you know, if you lose me, you lose me. But actually what we did is we were plumbers for a day. Now, if you paid attention and listened along, you knew I had some plumbing issues with the cabin last year of the pipes freezing.
Yes, you did.
But we fixed that. We fixed that. We took a day Friday, and we converted all our PVC piping over to PEX piping, which can handle the cold a lot better.
Okay, it will. It's
yes,
supposed
the tube will expand if there's water in it to a certain. It's rated to a minus something.
Minus something.
Yeah, off the top of my head, but it'll survive. It'll actually flex as opposed to where PVC will just crack.
Gotcha. It's UP approved, I take it.
It's everywhere it gets cold approved. That's for sure.
Gotcha. Well, I'll tell you what, my friend. Why don't we just go ahead and let you go right now, because the signal, I can tell, is starting to break up just a little bit, and you need to concentrate on driving anyway. And I think we just lost him. I think Danny is gone. So, Danny, if you can hear me, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect and let you be on your way. You and Terry have a safe drive. So, that's the way this thing works here, folks. It's just that's technology, and when he's in the UP, sometimes it works and sometimes it don't. But actually, we almost got a complete show out of this tonight. Other than that, I really don't have a whole lot else to talk about unless you guys want to throw something my way real quick. We'll continue the conversation and see what's going on. But Danny's trying to, actually, the Mackinac Bridge, they're doing the Labor Day Bridge Walk tomorrow. And what they do is they shut that bridge down. It's across the Mackinac Straits, 5 miles long. And it'll be shut down at 6:30 a.m. in the morning, and it will not reopen again until noon. So for 5.5 hours, that bridge is actually shut down to traffic. So if you can imagine I-75 on the busiest holiday in northern Michigan for the year being shut down for 5.5 hours, you can just imagine the backups. So that's what they're going to be dealing with. And he's trying to get back south of the bridge, get back home tonight so they don't have to deal with that. But that's just the way it goes here in Michigan. So other than that, I don't have much else to talk about. I've been busy at work all week. I've been going through a lot of automation training at work, and it has been taking my time, 14-hour days. So I've not been shooting my bow. I've not been looking at trail cam photos. I've not really been doing much of anything except sleeping, getting up, going to work, coming home, sleeping, doing the same thing over and over again. But that will change this week, hopefully. Plan on getting out, shooting the bow a lot more, getting ready for the opening day of, or the opening weekend of archery season here in Michigan. So, but other than that, the only thing I did really got the book, our harvest book that I've been waiting on to come from QDMA, and our deer jawbone extraction tool. So I'm happy to get that in. I've got a video that was put out by Kip Adams from QDMA on how to use this. He explains it pretty well. I've got one more piece of gear that I need to buy to make all of this work. Actually, two. I got to get the basket to put the bones in, and I need to get a pair of lopping shears to actually be able to break the bone in the jaw. So if you guys get a chance, go over. Actually, I'll post that video on our page this week. That way you guys can kind of see how it works. And if it's something you guys might be thinking about doing at your camp, then by all means, it's something worth checking into. I think it cost me $15 for the tool to actually extract the jawbone. So looking ahead here, didn't look like anybody else is on. So I am going to wrap up the podcast portion of the show. I'll hang around for a few minutes on the live stream, and we'll see if anything else comes about, and we'll talk about. If not, we'll wrap everything up. But for the podcast, that'll do it for us this week, folks.
And don't forget, you can catch us in syndication at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on goodtalkradio.com. This episode was brought to you by PSE Archery,
Carbon Express,
Fourth Arrow Camera Arms,
Winsent Hunting Sense,
Killer Food Plots, Seeds, Supplements, and Attractants,
Cabela's,
Spot Shooters,
Limb Walker Game Calls,
Twisted Minds Bowstrings,
Hunter's Blend Coffee,
Antler Action,
and Family Traditions Tree Stands.
Thanks for listening, and join us again here next week. Until then, remember, as we always like to say, if you're out on the water or in the woods, shoot straight and be safe. Until next week on the Up North Journal.